Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm reviewing Elton John's 1985 album Ice on Fire. This was his 19th studio album. It followed on from Breaking Hearts and preceded Leather Jackets. It reached number 3 in the UK and number 48 in the United States. It was produced by Gus Dudgeon, back at the controls after a break since Blue Moves, quite a long break actually. All the lyrics were supplied by Bernie Taupin. So, is it any good? So I've got this on vinyl. This is one I bought myself just after it came out. Elton looking pretty cool and dapper on the front there. A nice sort of black and white feel to it, a little bit of colour on the word fire. On the back, he looks as if he's ready for the opera, or maybe he's even starring in the opera, perhaps even Phantom of the Opera, and the track listing laid out there. Pretty smart, fairly simplistic design, but it works quite well. Inside, picture of Bernie, plenty of information and all the lyrics. And the other side of the sleeve is again just all the lyrics, no more pictures there. So just a word about this, quite a few of the songs on here are quite big production numbers, as well as Elton's band itself, which does have changing personnel on these tracks. We also get a brass section and we get several backing vocalists. And when performing live, this can sort of fill the stage with personnel. Some of these tracks have got 18 artists listed. And that doesn't feature an orchestra. It's 18 separate musicians or singers. The other thing we've got is a heavy use of synthesizers, and we'll look at those tracks where synthesizers are used and comment on those as well. The other general comment I would make would be about the lyrics on this. As you know, I'm a fan of Bernie Taupin's lyrics, but some of these tracks are a little bit on the light side in terms of their content. They don't seem to be about very much, and I think that does detract from the overall quality of some of them. Now, the album didn't get a great critical reception. All Music only gave it 2.5 stars. I think that's a bit unfair in a way, but we'll have a look through and see what we think of the individual tracks. The opening track is This Town. This is one of the better lyrics on the album. This is about urban decay. It's about a place where there's been layoffs, where there's been demolition, but there's still sort of a claustrophobic sense of not being able to leave this particular town. You're kind of trapped in the place of your birth, perhaps. The good old days ain't so good no more. Yes, isolation, the whole place not what it once was. It's quite a stirring setting, this. The brass section, trumpets and trombone coming in there. You've got these curious bass notes right at the start, which I'm not sure whether that's a synth or whether that's a bass. You might be able to tell. It's played very, very quickly and sort of runs into the song there. We've got backing vocals from Sister Sledge on this. We've got a sax break, a little bit on there, sort of Benny Hill theme style sax break. It's okay. And there's generally a good vibe about this song. I think it's a good opener, and there's also a nice finish to it. It does come to a good conclusion on that. I think this would be a good live track, actually. I'm surprised in a way that Elton hasn't played it more. Anyway, for an opener, I'm going to say it's a good track, and we award this one 6 out of 10. Track number 2 is Cry to Heaven, which was a single. Now we get a solemn piano intro on this one and a fairly somber verse. What's happening? Is it the aftermath of a revolution? Are these victims of war? There's shattered glass, dogs barking, a burnt out subway. Is this the frustration of a failed protest against some authoritarian state? Is it making a comment about the futility of war? Whatever, this is a strong, emotive ballad with the music, slight echoes here of Funeral for a Friend. I don't really pick that up in the chorus there. Some of the metaphors are a little bit curious. The black cat teasing a white mouse. I wonder what Bernie's on about there. Does make you think though, doesn't it? Which is an advantage to a song. That's a very good point about it. The synthesizers work okay. There's some nice Spanish guitar in there from David Johnson as well. So overall, quite an impressive track, this one. However, it is accompanied by an absolutely awful video, which appears to be made on a shoestring, and it's really one of Elton's worst ever videos. Compare that with something like Sad Songs or I'm Still Standing, which are great videos. Guess that's why they call it The Blues. Another fine video. This is not one of those videos. But later on in the album, there is a video to accompany a song, which is very good indeed. But this isn't one of them, I'm afraid. Anyway, this is a very good song. I like it a lot. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. Track number 3 is Soul Glove, another single. We've got a brassy intro to this. It's a big ensemble with strings, brass, vocalists. It's all about the distance between a couple, perhaps reuniting for a weekend. The melody is fine. It's not a standout melody. It's okay. The lyrics I find a little bit on the shallow side. You and me, we go together like a soul glove. Does that really work? Does that move us in any way? Does it interest us? I'm not so sure. Kiki D appears on backing vocals. It was always good to have her on an Elton record. So, you know, this is okay. I would say it's a fairly good track and give it 5 out of 10. Now, track number 4 is the very well-known Nikita. Now, I can remember back in the 80s watching the video that goes alongside this song. This is about a difficult relationship between somebody on the east and the west. So it may well be set in Berlin. And it's this clash of cultures. It's somebody in the west in love with somebody in the east. Now, interesting personnel on this. Dave Mattox, the sort of folk drummer, appears on the drums on this one. We've also got George Michael appearing towards the end, and you know, George Michael, as we know, has got tremendous voice, a little bit underused here. Maybe he could have done the break in the middle of this, which is on the synthesizer keyboard, and perhaps doesn't sound so good these days. So this is a ballad with a nice beat, a slow ballad with a beat. It's evocative of the 1980s sound, I think. And quite an accomplished lyric, this, by Bernie. Do you ever dream of me? Do you ever see the letters that I write? That's a lovely sounding line, and Elton delivers a good vocal on this one. So the whole thing is a good package and gave Elton this number 3 chart success in the UK. I'm going to rate it as a very good track and give it 7 out of 10. Now, 2 members of Queen make an appearance again with Elton on the next track, which is track 5, Too Young. Now, they helped on Angelina on Leather Jackets, which wasn't a great track, I'm afraid. Again, this one is not particularly good. This is about a boyfriend meeting the parents of the person he's going out with, and them saying, you know, she's too young for this sort of relationship. It's got kind of a military snare sound to this whole beat. The whole thing sounds a bit like some sort of military song. It takes a long time to get to the chorus, and even when it does get there, it's not that impressive. Elton does pack plenty of feeling into his vocal, but the whole thing doesn't quite hit home for me, and is a little bit over long. So after some good songs on this side, it doesn't end on a hugely good note. I'm going to say it's an average song and give it 4 out of 10. So let's just have a look at those marks there for the first side. We've got a 6, 7, 5, 7, 4, giving us 29 marks for the first side of vinyl. Now, track number 6 is Wrap Her Up. Now, I was talking about videos earlier. Now, this one's got an excellent video, very creative, must have taken a long time to make, but it puts Elton into vintage footage of different film stars like Brigitte Bardot and Marilyn Monroe. Very cleverly done, and it's certainly worth having a look at. This is a fun song with a good dance beat. It's a light-hearted track in praise of beautiful sort of film stars, such as Brigitte Bardot, Vivian Leigh, and other people like Nancy Reagan as well. George Michael is much more prominent on this, so he's kind of giving a bit of an echo to Elton's lyrics on that, and it's good to hear his voice involved in there. The problem with this is that it's not a particularly exciting tune. Yeah, it works reasonably well as a package, but you think, well, do I want to hear this again? Well, probably not for a while. So although it's fairly accomplished, I'm going to say it's a fairly good track and give it 5 out of 10. Track number 7 is Satellite. And I must admit, when I was looking back, I'd got no recollection of this song at all. But I've listened to it again a few times. It's got a rhythmic start, and then there's kind of a soundscape with some space noises on there. Then we have a dance beat. And this song, which is about a satellite, which is a metaphor for a lover, the meaningless lyrics are rather clunky, and they don't really hit home. There's not much depth in there. The whole thing is not a bad sort of funky setting. Nick Kershaw comes in on the guitar, but not a standout track. This a little bit on the boring side, and not as good as some of the others on this. So I'm going to say it's an average track, and I give it 4 out of 10. Track number 8 is Tell Me What the Papers Say, which I think is kind of a cynical look at tabloid journalism. And obviously Elton has had issues with the tabloids at various stages of his career. There's some cheesy synthesizer accompaniment with some fake brass. It sounds like fake brass on there because it's not credited to the musicians. The whole thing is not memorable. It's rather dull, and it just sinks without trace, this one. The only sort of thing in its favour is that it's fairly short, but a little bit of an album filler, this one, I think. I'm going to say it's an average track and give it 4 out of 10. Now, track number 9 is Candy by the Pound, and this has got 18 performers listed in the credits for this one. And you've got to wonder what this was all about, really. We get some more cheesy synthesizers on here. We've got this rather silly metaphor of lovers having candy by the pound. It's all a bit ridiculous. There's a slight sort of Drifters feel about this song, and maybe there was some inspiration there in being influenced by their style. I'm afraid it's another album filler, this, and I can't really see whether this is any more than below average, and give it a 3 out of 10. Now, song number 10 is Shoot Down the Moon. Now, it's been widely rumoured and reported that this was considered as a Bond song for the film A View to a Kill. And what a shame it wasn't chosen. I wonder if anybody has done a mock-up, maybe on YouTube, of this song and the titles to that film. That would be definitely worth seeing. The introduction is a little bit like the last song from the one, which is another fine track. Possibly too much echo on the vocal, but the whole thing is about the ending of an affair which can never work. We can build a bridge between us, but the empty space remains. So a solidly good lyric, this, from Bernie Taupin. Elton's given it a minor setting. That's what gives it that sort of Bond feel. There are some sort of synthetic strings on this, and it would have been better to have some real strings, I think. But it's a strong melody, a strong harmony, maybe let down a little bit like the production. And there are some echoes, again, of Funeral for a Friend in this before the last chorus, when those very quick notes come in. See if you can pick that up there. But this is a quality track, isn't it? It's a good song. It's well sung, and it's a fine end, actually, to the vinyl album. I'm going to say it's excellent. I'm going to give it 8 marks out of 10. So side 2, not quite as strong as side 1. I've got a 5, 4, 4, 3, 8, giving it 24 marks in all. So that's a total of 53 marks for 10 tracks, giving us an average of 5.3 marks per track. Now, while we're here, there are some bonus tracks to look at if you have the CD version. The first one we're going to look at is The Man Who Never Died, 1985 remix. This is an instrumental which was a tribute to John Lennon, just as Empty Garden was. We can compare it very closely with Song for Guy. It's clearly influenced by that. Maybe another attempt to have an instrumental hit like that one. And it's pretty good. It's a pleasant listen. Definitely one of Elton's finest instrumentals. And there are some sort of vocals that come in towards the end there. Just enough there to keep our interest, I think. So definitely I would direct you to this and say it's a good track and give this one 6 out of 10. Of course, that doesn't count towards my overall album total because I only include the original album tracks on that. I've got some of the tracks to look like. Well, I won't rate these because they're just live performances of other songs, but we've got Restless from Wembley in 1984, which works quite well as a live track, actually. Then we've got Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word, live from 1977, apparently not 84 as it says on some CDs. And you can hear that because Elton's voice is younger in this. This is a pleasant version, piano only, a little bit of percussion, but a good rendition of the song. We've got I'm Still Standing from Wembley in 1984. And then we have one more track. Now, this is The Astonishing Act of War. Now, apparently Elton wanted to sing this with Tina Turner originally, but she turned it down. So we do then have Millie Jackson, the R&B star, duetting with Elton on this, and it's an absolutely frantic pace going on in this. And I don't know if it was me, but it seemed to get faster during the song as well. It doesn't relent. It's about a couple arguing. It's an absolutely exhausting listen, this one. And there's a video about the president pressing the nuclear button, and it counts down from 60 to 0. So it's pretty tiring watching the video as well as this happens. It's a gargantuan vocal from Millie Jackson, who has a really strong voice. The issue with this track is that the melody is not particularly interesting. And the production is quite tiring to listen to. The drums seem to be louder than the vocals on this. I was listening to one of these podcasts about Elton, and the person presenting that listed this as one of their most unfavourite Elton John tracks. I don't think it's that bad, actually. It's interesting to listen to, but you wouldn't want to listen to it too many times. You would have to lie down afterwards. Anyway, I think it's a fairly good track, and I would award this one 5 out of 10. So about 350 Elton John tracks now rated. And where's the first contribution from this album? Well, it's in the 8s. It's Shoot Down the Moon. There it is. The 8s, by the way, aren't in order there. I'll do that at the end. But it's joining some pretty good company there. Little Genie, Healing Hands, Breaking Hearts, Ticking. Lots of good tracks there on 8. Now, this is the bottom of the league there, and you see the only track really having an impact is Candy by the Pound, which I've rated 3 out of 10. Still only 2 tracks on 0, Solar Prestige and Passengers. So let's look at my overall Elton album rankings. Tumbleweed still on the top there, 7 point. Will that ever be beaten? But here we have Ice on Fire coming in now at album number 19 in my chart, just above the Lockdown Sessions and just below the Big Picture. So I've got about 3 or 4 Elton original studio albums to go. So what do you make of Ice on Fire? I think it's a pretty good listen, this one. Just one thing I was going to add is my favourite and my least favourite moments from the album. The best moment from the album for me is the very last chorus of Shoot Down the Moon. Elton comes in again. He's putting so much emotion into that voice. It really is spine tingling. So that's the highlight. The worst moment of the album, well, I'm going to go to the video of Cry to Heaven. Have a look at that and see what you make of that video. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the review. Please tell me your thoughts, your favourite tracks about this album, what you agree or disagree with me about, and I'll do a mop-up video of any comments you send in. That's it for now. Back with another review soon. Don't forget, we're still standing.